What's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Lo and I have an 8-week-old baby. I'm a first-time mom and I had gestational diabetes. So I wanted to make this video to tell you guys about my experience and what I learned to manage gestational diabetes, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. When I got diagnosed, it was very overwhelming. I knew there was a chance it would happen because my mom had it when she was pregnant with my younger sister. But other than that, I didn't have any risk factors, so I was hoping maybe I would get lucky and I wouldn't have it. But unfortunately, I did have gestational diabetes and I dealt with it, and I had a perfectly healthy baby that went almost full term. She was born 2 days early when my water broke. So she is hanging out right there in her bassinet and she's very pleasant right now. She's supposed to be napping. I'm hoping that she falls asleep, and I don't know if she's gonna fall asleep or just start crying. It could go either way. So anyway, basically during pregnancy, well, first of all, I just want to say, like, all of this I'm going to say based on my experience. Obviously, like, follow your doctor's advice. I think that goes without saying, but just, I want to say it anyway. So if anything I tell you is different from what your doctor's telling you, like, please just listen to your doctor first. So around like 26 to 28 weeks of pregnancy, you're going to do a glucose test to test for gestational diabetes. And gestational diabetes is basically having diabetes while you're pregnant. It usually just resolves on its own after pregnancy. I had my glucose test postpartum a few weeks ago and mine is gone, luckily. But you do have it for the duration of your pregnancy once you're diagnosed. It doesn't go away until after delivery. So the glucose test. First, I did a 1-hour test, which means you go in, I think they draw your blood, you drink this really sugary drink. It tastes like a very, very sweet Gatorade, and with a little bit of carbonation in it. And then you wait an hour and they draw your blood to see how well your body processed that sugar. If you fail that one, which I did, you go for another test, which is a longer one. You have to be fasting, so you can't eat anything from that night till the next morning. They do fasting, blood draw, and then you drink the drink, and then they take your blood after 1 hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours. And if you fail, I think it's 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4 of those tests, I can't remember, then you're considered to have gestational diabetes. So I think I failed 3 out of 4. I have a video where I talked about it. I'll link that right here when I was diagnosed if you're interested in watching it. But yeah, so if you're able to control your diet with the gestational diabetes diet they give you, then you don't have to do insulin. If that's not working, then you'll have to do insulin shots or some sort of medication depending on how your doctor does things. Fortunately for me, I followed the diet and my blood sugar stayed in good shape where it was supposed to, so I was thankful for that. So once I was diagnosed, my doctor sent me to an endocrinologist, and he went over what gestational diabetes is. And basically it's your body is not producing enough insulin while you're pregnant because the pregnancy hormones are interfering with your body's own processes. So what happens, why it's dangerous, is the baby will, which is kind of cute, like the baby will compensate for your lack of insulin production by making insulin to help you, but that's not good for them because they don't have diabetes, just you do. So that's the risk. So a bunch of things can happen with the baby because of that, but needless to say, if you can control it, your baby can be perfectly healthy. So after I met the endocrinologist, I met with one of the nurses who gave me my little blood sugar monitor. You're gonna have to test your blood after every meal. That's what my doctor had me do. So it's just one of these little diabetes monitors. So you have this little finger stick thing and you just prick your finger after every meal. My doctor had me do it 2 hours after every meal. And then it has a little digital reading and it tells you what your blood sugar is. And the blood sugar was supposed to be between 70 and 120, not above 120. So I only went over a few times, and generally I could figure out why. It was either I ate too much or it was just something funky that happened, but didn't happen a ton. But yeah, so I have 10 tips for you guys from my experience, so I'll jump right into that. So first of all is set an alarm. Like when you start eating, you're supposed to test exactly 2 hours after the start of your meal. So anytime I would start eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I set an alarm on my phone for 2 hours because believe me, you're not gonna remember 2 hours from then. It's just too much to keep track of, especially when you're pregnant. So set an alarm on your phone. When it goes off, it'll remind you, easy. You won't miss too many. And like if you miss one here or there, it's not the end of the world, but you wanna be as consistent as you can. My second tip is get these alcohol swabs. I got them like at CVS or something. They're just like little individual swabs, and basically you're supposed to wash your hands before you do the test. You prick your finger and draw a little drop of blood. So I didn't always have time to do that because I was on the go or just like at work and I didn't want to run to the bathroom or whatever. So having the alcohol swabs was really helpful because it was just quick and easy way to just make sure everything stayed sanitary. And I used those to clean my monitor like every couple days. Don't worry, if you see the baby's gun, I am holding her right here. So she was getting kind of fussy, so hopefully she'll like being held a little bit better. Tip number 3 is stick with your diet plan. So they gave me this like American Diabetes Association book, and basically in it explains like how many carbs, how much protein, how much fat is in each food item. And I refer to this all the time. There's an index that has like everything under the sun that you can think of for food. So like I'll show you guys. So you can see like anything you're eating, it's pretty much in here. So they gave me like at the back of the book, they wrote in how many carbs, how many proteins, and how many fats they wanted me to have in each meal. They wanted me to have breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, dinner, and a snack. So it's a lot of eating. It's eating every 2 hours, but it's very controlled. So you're hungry by the end of 2 hours and you want to eat. So they tell you how much to eat of each category of food at each meal and snack, but most importantly is the carbs. You don't have to count sugar, you just count carbs. And so in the morning when your body doesn't produce as much insulin, you're very limited on your carbs, and then for lunch and dinner you can have more carbs. But it's super important that you don't go over on the carbs or under. If you go over, your blood sugar is gonna be over what the like healthy limit is. If you don't eat all your carbs, your blood sugar will be fine, but your body will produce this thing called ketones, which is also bad for the baby. So you need to eat all your carbs, but not more than they say. So how do you stick to that? First of all, it's very helpful if you can like measure out things when you're eating. So if it says, you know, for however many carbs you need to eat, it's 2 cups of rice. Well, take a measuring cup and just measure out 2 cups of rice, and then make sure you eat all of that. And sometimes it takes a while because you're not super hungry and you don't feel like eating that much rice, so it takes you like an hour to eat, but that's fine. Just take your time, eat like as, you know, at the pace that's comfortable to you, but eat all of your carbs, and then make sure you're getting the protein and, you know, whatever other, you know, things you're supposed to be doing that meal. Measuring things out ahead of time is huge. Like for your snack, if you're supposed to have, you know, 15 grams of carb, then look at the back of the thing of rice cakes and see how many carbs are in a serving. And then if it's 7 rice cakes per serving, count those out, put them in a little bowl or put them in a plastic bag if you're going to work, and just have it portioned, because you don't want to sit with a bag of chips or a bag of nuts or anything without having already measured it. Otherwise you're gonna have no idea where you're at and your numbers are gonna be off. Which brings me to my next point, tip number 4, is eat healthy carbs, because carbs are what fill you up. And if you just eat like a piece of white bread or a donut or use your carbs on something that's not gonna fill you up for very long, you're gonna be starving. So as it was with the diet plan they had me on, I was hungry a lot of the time and I had to eat extra. And when you need to eat extra, they tell you to eat extra protein, and there's only so much peanut butter and cheese and like, you know, things like that that you can, nuts that you can like stand until you're just sick of eating protein. You can't just snack on crackers or something. It's protein is the only thing you can go over on. So you want to eat whole grains like brown rice, you want to eat, you know, whole wheat pasta, whole grain bread, all that kind of good stuff for your carbs, not just like a donut or something, because you're going to be hungry and you're not going to feel good. So tip number 5 is find some low carb desserts, because you're pregnant and you're going to want to eat dessert. So like, for example, if you look at you know, a thing of like 2 little like Twinkies or whatever, you're gonna see that's like basically all the carbs or more than you're allowed to have for your entire dinner. So eating dessert is kind of like out of the question, unless you're gonna just forego your normal healthy carbs, which is not good for you or the baby anyway. Now it's hard because sugar-free things that use artificial sweetener are not good for you during pregnancy either, so it's a really tricky balance. But I got like a couple of the little sugar-free Jell-O cups, so I just had one of those when I had a really bad sweet tooth, just to kind of get me through. The other thing I found is there's these Reese's Thins that are like individually wrapped, and I think they're only 15 grams of carbs, which is like 25% of the carbs I was allowed to have for dinner. So if I wanted to have like a cup and a half of rice and then one of those with my dinner or after dinner as a treat, I could. So find little desserts that you can eat that can satisfy that sweet tooth, so you don't like mess up and go eat like, you know, a bunch of sweets because you just have starved yourself of sweets so much and you can't stand it anymore. Tip number 6, I actually already said when I was talking about the diet plan, is pre-measure your foods. So, you know, get a measuring cup. At first, you're gonna need to use that. As time goes on, you're gonna kind of be able to eye things a little better, or you'll already know, oh, when I have this snack, you know, it counts as this much. You're not gonna need to read all the labels so carefully. But those first couple weeks, like really do your research and find out like what things, how much carbs and protein and everything are in the things you're eating. And doing that up front and then measuring things out is gonna help you a lot, because you're not gonna wanna have to think about it every time you eat, because you have to eat so often. You just wanna have it like figured out kind of for the day, or for, you know, at least your snacks for the day and your breakfast. And then when you come to like lunch or dinner, you can do it as you go or whatever, but at least pre-portion some of it. Tip number 7, which is good for pregnancy in general, but especially if you have gestational diabetes, is drink lots of water. Like for me, water was my cure-all during pregnancy, and I noticed when I did not drink water, I did not feel well at all, like way more than I think it would have affected me if I didn't have gestational diabetes, because your body's just more sensitive to things, and at least for me, like everything just felt off. So drink lots of water. You're supposed to drink, well, ask your doctor how much you're supposed to drink. I was supposed to drink about 80 ounces a day. I got a big 40-ounce water bottle. I filled it up at least once and then tried to fill it up a second time and drink all of that. Plus I would have, you know, some fruits and vegetables that would have water in it. I would maybe have a cup of like chamomile tea or some other, you know, soda water or something. But as much as you can, like anytime you think of it, just drink water, because that's gonna make you feel so much better. Tip number 8 is don't drink juice. When you're trying to hydrate, I know it's so tempting to have like something nice and tasty. I love juice. I was drinking orange juice like every morning at the beginning of pregnancy because things didn't agree with me, but that did. And juice is the only thing my doctor was like, you can have small amounts of anything. You can have a small amount of chocolate cake. You can have a small amount of donuts. You can have a small amount of anything you want, except absolutely you're not allowed to have juice, because it's just sugar. It's straight sugar. There's no like pulp that has like vitamin content really. It's just gonna process so quickly through your body. It's gonna make your blood sugar skyrocket. You're not gonna feel good. So just stay away from the juices. If you feel tempted, like have some soda water with a splash of juice, like soda water with a splash of cranberry or something, just to get that taste, but do not have a full glass of juice. Tip number 9 is rest. You are going to be more tired than you normally would if you didn't have gestational diabetes and you were pregnant. Your body's just working harder to do everything. I was so exhausted, worse than the first trimester. I like could barely do anything. Drinking water helped, sticking to my diet plan helped, but there's just comes a point where you're just gonna be fatigued. And I got so exhausted and did not feel well to the point that I ended up getting pulled out of work and had some other things going on and was just feeling like dizzy and lightheaded. And, you know, my doctor was concerned for a number of reasons. So, you know, hopefully that doesn't happen to you, but you are gonna be tired. So rest as much as you can. Yeah. It's not always easy if you have other kids or you're working or both, but just anytime you can get some rest in, even if it's not sleeping, it's just relaxing and not, you know, doing that load of laundry or whatever it is, which is hard if you're trying to prepare for baby with all these things to tell you to rest, but it's important to rest. And my last tip, tip number 10, is just take it one day at a time. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it was very overwhelming for me when I got diagnosed, knowing you have to like prick your finger 4 times a day, check your blood sugar, track all your meals, prepare all your meals a certain way, eat a certain way, and do that every single day without fail for the next 3 months. It seems like a lot because pregnancy is a lot in itself to deal with. But, you know, you just take it day by day, and some days you do really good and other days you mess up a little bit and your blood sugar is off, and you record it in your little chart and you tell your doctor and they scold you for it. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's worth just sticking with it. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just try to like focus on that next meal or on that one day, and don't worry about, you know, trying to do this for weeks on end. Just focus on today and making good, healthy decisions for today. And know that there's an end to it too. This isn't something that you're gonna have to deal with for the rest of your life, likely. This is gonna end with pregnancy, and so just get through each day knowing that it will end eventually, and it will be so worth it when you have a healthy baby that just, you know, doesn't have any issues because you stuck to it. And believe me, after delivery, I ate all the sweets, I ate all the donuts, I ate all the candy, and I loved every minute of it. So the pregnancy weight came off a little slower than I wanted it to, but it was worth it. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you have any questions about anything I talked about or any other questions, please put it in the comments below. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you know I'm really good about getting back to people in the comments. If you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. If you have gestational diabetes, I know it's tough, hang in there, you can do this. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.